Location: Mars High Command, Red Bastion, Terra-Martian Alliance territory. The air inside Red Bastion's Strategic Command Center was cold and sterile, humming with the quiet energy of a room where wars had been won and lost in silence. Steel walls curved overhead like the inside of a bunker built into the Martian rock. Light flickered over tactical holotables displaying red and blue indicators across the galaxy, one system at a time slipping into contested space. Commander Ilara Voss stood still, arms behind her back, eyes fixed on the central projection. She didn't blink. "Run it again," she said. A low whir answered her. The feed replayed. A cluster of Terran satellites, orbiting the research moon NEXUS, flickered. Then a flash. Silent in space but unmistakable. One moment the facility was there. The next its signature vanished. No distress signal. No survivors. Beside her, Admiral Kale Hoshin, broad, grizzled, war-tempered, let out a breath through his nose. That was a precision strike. Clean. No debris scatter. Whoever hit it knew exactly where our blind spots were. They cloaked their approach, Ilara said. That's not pirate work. That's military. A younger officer, Lieutenant Mireille, leaned over the console, cross-referencing known stealth-capable fleets. Only 2 species outside of humanity use that tech at this level. Both are imperial. And the Empire claims it's a diplomatic convoy. Hoshin's lip curled. This is how they negotiate. They're not negotiating, Ilara replied coldly. They're probing. Silence settled. From the back of the room, Fleet Minister Aldrin, thin, political, perpetually calculating, cleared his throat. Before we escalate, Commander, let's recall the stakes. We are not yet a full Senate member species. A direct accusation without irrefutable evidence could trigger sanctions. Or worse. Ilara turned to him. They destroyed a sovereign Terran station. That is irrefutable. And yet we have no visual of the attacker. No ship ID. Just sensor patterns and probabilities. The Galactic Empire will deny everything. That's the point, Ilara said. They want us uncertain. They want fear without cause. And if we hesitate now, they'll take that as license to strike again. Hoshin nodded. She's right. We've been too quiet for too long. Ever since we turned back that fleet over Jupiter, they've been waiting for an excuse. Ilara stepped forward to the table. Her voice dropped, steady and sharp. We spent decades preparing. We reverse-engineered their tech. We've mastered quantum drives, eclipsed them in AI warfare, and built planetary defenses that even they don't fully understand. She tapped the holotable. A new model loaded. The Terran fleet positioned across the solar border, cloaked and waiting. Silent guardians. We don't start wars, she said. But we finish them. Minister Aldrin's expression darkened. You're speaking like a warlord, Commander. I'm speaking like a survivor, she shot back. We tried peace. For a century. And the Empire sent spies, sabotaged alliances, and now vaporized one of our moons. How many warnings do we give before we stop talking? A quiet ping echoed through the room. All eyes turned to Lieutenant Mireille again. Her eyes flicked across her console. New intel. Empire Fleet ETA. 49 hours. 15 ships. Flagship Orethian confirmed. Registered under diplomatic clearance. Diplomatic clearance with Dreadnought-class heat signatures. Hoshin barked. Mireille nodded grimly. Yes, sir. Then that's our window, Ilara said. If we're going to act, it's now. A red light began pulsing in the corner of the war room. Urgent, coded. A signal from Luna Command. Mireille opened the message silently, eyes scanning the encryption. She looked up at Ilara. Terra Command authorizes full strategic autonomy, she said. Effective immediately. The room stiffened. It was rare. Too rare. Ilara met Hoshin's eyes. They want us to handle this our way. He nodded. Then we give the Empire a line they won't dare cross. Aldrin opened his mouth, but she cut him off. This isn't a war declaration. It's a warning. One they won't forget. She tapped the table again, overlaying the Empire fleet's path with Terran stealth interceptor nodes. Activate Black Veil Protocol. Deploy Ajax and Scarab squadrons to intercept range. No engagement. Just observation. We catch them stepping even one toe out of the treaty line. And we unleash the net. Hoshin exhaled slowly. And if they step 2 toes out, then they learn what Earth has been building in the dark. There was no need for further debate. The orders moved, encoded and encrypted, leaving the war room like whispers in a storm. Later, Ilara stood alone on the upper deck of Red Bastion, overlooking the scarlet Martian desert. The storm shields glowed faintly above the horizon. In the distance, shuttles lifted like fireflies. She took a breath. She remembered Jakarta. Ashes, screams, the broken sky when the pirates came. She remembered the silence afterward, when the Galactic diplomats had shaken their heads and walked away. That silence had birthed her, had forged her steel. A soft voice spoke behind her. You think they'll really come for us? 'Twas Mireille. Lara didn't look back. They already have. And if they demand surrender? Ilara turned finally. Her eyes burned like twin stars. Then we make sure it's the last demand they ever give. Location: Galactic Senate Station, orbiting gas giant Tethros. Tethros loomed below like a bruised god, swirling cobalt storms roiling across its surface, vast enough to swallow whole continents. Suspended in high orbit above the storm-racked giant, the Galactic Senate Station spun with dignified grace, all gleaming spires and gold alloy plating, a monument to diplomacy, tradition and hypocrisy. Commander Ilara Voss stepped from her shuttle into the reception hall without ceremony. Her black fleet uniform drew silent stares from the gathered alien dignitaries, all draped in ceremonial silks, bioluminescent robes or armored scales. The humans were never expected to come in uniform. That alone was a message. A Suthari bureaucrat with glistening skin and vertical pupils slithered forward to greet her. Commander Voss, it hissed politely, the Empire delegation is awaiting you in Chamber 7. Please be agreeable. Ilara nodded once, eyes cold. I'm not here for pageantry. No, the alien whispered. You're here to avoid war. Or start one. Chamber 7 was dim and cavernous, lit by overhead beams like interrogation spotlights. On the far end stood the Empire delegation, 3 towering figures in crystalline armor and one seated in a levitating chair, draped in imperial crimson. Grand Archon Verlax Thune. His scaled face was unreadable, but the way he smiled, tight-lipped too long, set off every alarm in Ilara's mind. Commander Voss, he said smoothly, voice amplified by internal translators. How bold of you to come in person. One might think you were threatening us. Not a threat, Ilara replied, walking forward without breaking stride. A courtesy. Verlax raised a brow ridge. Your species still believes in such things. She stopped precisely 3 meters from him. We believe in facts. For instance, one of our science outposts was obliterated 42 hours ago. Clean, unprovoked, and conveniently timed just before your fleet entered our space. Verlax folded his long fingers. And you believe we had something to do with that? You're the only ones close enough. And arrogant enough. The 2 guards flanking Verlax shifted, but he held up a single clawed finger. Mind your tone, Commander. This is a diplomatic setting. Then speak diplomatically, she said. Explain your fleet's dreadnought signatures hidden beneath diplomatic clearance. Just long enough. Then he leaned forward serpentine. The Empire does not discuss fleet composition with upstart civilizations. Ilara's jaw tightened, but her expression remained neutral. Then allow me to clarify humanity's position. She lifted a compact data cube from her coat. The hologram activated instantly. A 3D rendering of the Empire fleet's trajectory, energy signatures, and sensor pings, proof that they had armed warships under stealth as they crossed the neutral zone. You've been shadowing our borders for weeks, she said. You struck without warning. If this was meant to intimidate us, I suggest you study history. We don't scare easily. Verlax's voice dropped an octave. Is this your way of accusing us before the Senate? No, Ilara said. This is a warning. At that, Verlax let out a soft hiss. Commander, I will offer you a single opportunity. Humanity is young, undisciplined, but not without potential. Surrender your independent fleet. Allow our advisors to manage your planetary defenses. And the Empire will protect Earth as it does other member worlds. You mean occupy us. We mean guide you. Your aggression is unbecoming. Ilara stepped closer. We survived our own extinction. We rebuilt from nothing. And we turned your discarded tech into weapons you can't even detect. What makes you think we need your protection? Verlax's grin returned, thinner than before. Because eventually, Commander, you'll be alone. Ilara didn't blink. Then we'll make sure being alone is enough to bring an empire to its knees. She turned and walked away. Verlax didn't call after her. But as she passed through the door, one of his aides murmured to him in their native tongue. She'll regret that. Verlax's response was calm. No, she'll remember it. Just before the end. Back aboard her shuttle, Ilara sat in silence as the Martian-piloted craft drifted away from the Senate station. The swirling mass of Tethros faded into distance as she stared out the viewport. Lieutenant Mireille's voice crackled over the encrypted line. Commander, our interceptors are in position. No movement from the Empire fleet yet. They won't move, Ilara said. Not while the Senate's watching. But after. That's when they'll strike. She turned to the secondary display. Another signal blinked. Arcos, a deep space Terran AI research node, just pinged her with anomalous readings. Gravitic ripples, barely detectable, matching the wake of Empire stealth cruisers. They were already inside the solar boundary. She exhaled once. Coldcom. Relay to Terra. Initiate passive monitoring. And inform Black Veil units we're now on Phase 2. Acknowledged. She cut the feed and opened a private channel. The encryption took 5 full seconds to crack. Level Theta, Terran Command Ali. A face appeared, Admiral Kale Hoshin. Your read, he asked. They're baiting us, Ilara said. They want us to fire first. Make us the aggressors. But they're already inside our territory. You want authorization for counterstrike? No. I want them to believe we're hesitating. Hoshin raised a brow. Buying time for what? Ilara leaned closer to the screen. To finish what we started. Operation Break Silence goes live in 12 hours. Dyson Moon Protocol. And everything else we've kept buried. Hoshin nodded, then lowered his voice. You know this means war. No, Ilara said. This means the end of pretending there isn't one already. The feed went dark. On the far side of the system, invisible to most sensors, a Terran stealth array blinked to life, wrapping the system in a net of AI-controlled tracking units. Each drone was equipped with quantum burst relays, technology no alien had yet cracked. And in the silence of space, they waited, watching. The Dyson moon hung in darkness like a myth made metal. A dead moon, its surface riddled with impact scars and ancient asteroid craters, had been hollowed out over decades, transformed into a covert fortress capable of swallowing stars. It was invisible to standard galactic scans, shielded by refractive veils and gravimetric distortions too complex for alien minds to unravel. Inside, light pulsed from buried engines that hadn't fully activated since their construction. The interior, immense, cold, layered like the hushed bowels of some sleeping god, was alive now. Wait. Commander Ilara Voss stood at the command core, flanked by General Sorendella, head of Terran Covert Operations. Both stared at a single holo-display tracking real-time activity from the outer system. Small pings, Empire stealth cruisers, drifted like ghosts across the border. They're in place, Della said. Sloppy cloaking patterns. They're used to being the smartest ones in the room. They aren't anymore, Ilara replied. A technician's voice echoed from the pit below. All Dyson moon systems at 94%. Particle lances charged. Quantum link probes tethered. Operation break silence ready for activation. Ilara didn't respond immediately. Her hands remained still behind her back. Her eyes tracked the enemy fleet's slow encroachment, calculating. Then finally, execute. Across the black canvas of space, Terran ghost fleets shimmered into visibility for a fraction of a second, long enough to transmit. From the Dyson moon, tight beam relays jumped in perfect sequence, ping to ping, faster than light allowed, bouncing between deep space buoys camouflaged in asteroid fields and debris clouds. The Empire never knew what hit them. The first strike came without fire. At 0311 hours, communications across 3 forward Empire outposts went dark. AI-driven malware, shaped like ordinary background noise, flooded their systems, bypassing security protocols and shredding through encrypted archives. Imperial fleet formations scrambled to compensate, but the damage was done before their crews even noticed. At 0313, the forward logistics base in orbit over Varn 6 lost all orbital control. Automated cargo haulers collided mid-course, their engines overdriven by false commands. A refinery exploded. 2 destroyers clipped each other trying to reposition. No navigation. Third ignited from within. By 0315, Ilara's trap had sprung. Target logs confirm full blackout on all 3 sites, Della said. They're flying blind. Ilara gave a nod. Initiate Phase 2. Minimal force. Maximum message. On the far side of the Empire border, TNS Umbra decloaked for 3.8 seconds, just long enough to fire a single kinetic lance into a mining station supplying Verlax's fleet. The impact was surgical precise. 1 room destroyed, the rest untouched. No lives lost. As proof. They could have leveled it. They didn't. 1,000 light-years away, another Terran vessel embedded in a pulsar system fired a signal toward a dormant wormhole. The Empire believed it unstable. Ilara's teams had already mapped it. That wormhole would now lead straight into the Empire's core worlds. And they would know that humanity knew. Back on the Dyson moon, Della rubbed his chin. This will shake them. That's the point, Ilara said. He eyed her. You sure this isn't your version of a declaration? She looked up at the glowing battle grid. If I wanted to declare war, they'd already be ash. Later, alone in her private quarters, Ilara sat on a steel bench, a mug of Sinsif untouched beside her. A thin light pulsed on her desk, an old vidchip she hadn't played in years. She picked it up, inserted it. Static, then color. A child's voice. Mom, look what I built. The image panned to a small, makeshift ship of scrap parts, barely held together by magnets and hope. The camera trembled. Her own voice, younger, softer. You're going to be a great engineer, baby. The screen shook. The explosion came next. Fire smoke. Jakarta 2214. Pirate incursion. No warning. No mercy. Her daughter was one of 18,000 killed. No alien race had intervened. No Galactic Council had sanctioned the attackers. They called it a regrettable border incident. That day, Ilara learned what regret really meant. And she vowed, no human child would ever die forgotten again. The comms line buzzed, private secure. Voss, she answered, voice hardening. Admiral Kale Hoshin's face flickered into view. You've lit a fire, Commander. Intelligence reports the Empire is panicking. 2 systems are on lockdown. Verlax is pulling assets from unrelated sectors. Good, Ilara said. Let them waste time reacting. Kale hesitated. The Senate's watching. Some allies are nervous. Let them be nervous. But they're not the ones being hunted. You want to push further. No, she said. I want to show them we've already won the moment we stop playing by their rules. He nodded slowly. Then God help them. God doesn't visit empires, Ilara replied. Only survivors. 12 hours later, the galactic net trembled with data spikes. Reports came in of unknown intrusions, sabotage, impossible jumps. Across 3 sectors, Empire patrols retreated, not from battle but confusion. A single message was transmitted on an open channel to the Senate, encrypted in the Terran dialect, marked with a symbol older than any empire. A human hand, clenched into a fist. And the words, "We warned you." The calm before it began was unnatural. Too quiet. No chatter on open frequencies. No movement from the Empire fleet parked just beyond the Helios threshold. They hovered there like predators in orbit, armed and masked in diplomatic immunity. But Earth wasn't prey. Not anymore. Commander Ilara Voss stood on the bridge of TNS Valiant, silent, watching as sensor arcs tracked the approaching dreadnoughts. Each one radiated energy signatures beneath their cloaks, thermal emissions, gravitic flutters, small tremors in spacetime that Terran tech could now decipher. "They're charging their forward cannons," said Lieutenant Mireille, eyes locked to the display. "They're still broadcasting peace," muttered Captain Ranverek beside her, jaw clenched. "This is a farce." "It always was," Ilara said flatly. "They wanted us to blink first." "Orders?" Varric asked. "Hold until breach," she replied. All around them, the Terran fleet floated in formation, tight, layered, ready. They weren't flashy. No ornamental hulls or ceremonial designs. Just sleek, sharp black vessels bristling with weapon systems the galaxy didn't yet understand. This wasn't for show. It was survival-made steel. At 0403 hours, the Empire flagship Arethian crossed into the restricted Terran buffer zone by $0.90. No warning. No acknowledgement. Just enough to trigger response protocol. Ilara didn't flinch. "Confirm violation," she said calmly. "Confirmed," Mireille replied. "They've broken the line. Then give them what they came for." Across the Terran fleet, silent orders pulsed like lightning. Tight beam, encrypted, instant. The storm began. The first strike came from TNS Wraith, a cloaked assault corvette hovering beneath the orbital plane. One shot, precise, undetectable, traveling on a gravitic rail, punched through the Arethian's starboard defense grid before the Empire knew they'd been targeted. The shot didn't destroy. It severed their main reactor line. A heartbeat later, the Arethian's engines flared, overloaded, then went dark. On the bridge, alarms screamed. Verlax Thune rose from his command throne, furious. What just happened? Unknown impact. Shield core destabilized. Counterfire. Target their lead ship. But they couldn't see it. Because TNS Valiant had shifted, just enough to mask behind its stealth flank, and fired 3 gravitic torpedoes straight into the Empire's front line. No explosions. No fireballs. Just silence. Sudden silence. 3 ships lost thrust and drifted. Systems shredded not by heat or impact, but spatial inversion. Internal pressure folded. Crew compartments compressed to the size of fists. No debris. Ilara's eyes never left the screen. Status. 3 enemy vessels disabled. Flagship dead in the water. Remaining fleet scattering. "They thought they'd fight pirates," Varric said. "They didn't expect physics to betray them." "That's the difference," Ilara replied. "They build for intimidation. We build for outcomes." The Empire fleet tried to regroup. Their second wave adjusted positions, weapons primed. Ilara leaned forward. "Engage the net." In orbit above Neptune, hidden beneath layers of electromagnetic dust, a Terran orbital array fired. It wasn't a weapon. Not in the conventional sense. It was a signal. A quantum burst command spread across the Terran web, activating the second tier of break silence. The net, an autonomous mesh of AI-run combat drones scattered across the system like forgotten dust motes. They woke and struck. From asteroid shadows, from deep-sea probes on Europa, from dormant satellites above Venus, they emerged and launched precision strikes across the battlefield. Not on ships, on systems. Target, propulsion, navigation, life support. By 0411 hours, Over half the Empire's fleet had been rendered inert. Not destroyed, disarmed, crippled. In the cold quiet of space, silence was the loudest message. Ilara stared at the battle display as the Empire fleet blinked off the grid one by one, no longer functioning, drifting helplessly. Status of Orethian. Still intact. Command crew alive. Engines dead. No weapons. Good, she said. Patch me through. Direct channel opened. Cracked with static, then cleared. Verlax appeared on screen, eyes burning with confusion and rage. Behind him, his bridge crew were shouting, some visibly panicked. You dare attack a diplomatic convoy under Senate protection. You weren't here for diplomacy, Ilara said. You were here to test us. You just failed. This is an act of war. No, she replied coolly. This is a denial of war. You threatened our borders. We neutralized your threat. No casualties. No wreckage. Just silence. Verlax's voice dropped, venomous. You will regret this. The Empire will not forget. Neither will we, Ilara said. Euryxus was unarmed. Civilian. You erased it without warning. We remember everything. He glared. You'll never stand against the full weight of our armada. We won't have to, she said. You'll tear yourselves apart trying to find a weapon you can't see. She cut the feed. On the bridge of TNS Valiant, a silence followed. No cheers. No celebration. Just quiet, steady breath. Victory wasn't glory. It was survival ensured. Later in her quarters, Ilara reviewed the casualty report. 0 Terran losses. 0 enemy dead. But the message? Undeniable. Door chimed. Admiral Hoshin entered without waiting for permission. Empire's retreating. Hills tuck. They've requested an emergency Senate hearing. They'll spin it, Ilara said. Claim miscommunication. Or blame a rogue captain. Let them. We have everything logged. He studied her. This was surgical. It had to be. We didn't need to win a war. We needed to end the idea of one. He gave a rare smile. You've done that. For now. She looked out the viewport, where wrecked enemy ships floated like forgotten bones. They'll regroup. Eventually. But next time they'll hesitate. And that hesitation will save lives. Above, among the stars, the Terran fleet held position. Silent. Watching. Like wolves that had just reminded the forest who owned the night.
The Senate chamber, a vaulted cathedral of glass and gold alloy, had never been this quiet. Even the ambient hum of translators and comm nodes seemed hushed, like the room itself was holding its breath. Ilara Voss stepped forward onto the central platform, flanked by 2 Terran guards in black polymer armor, unarmed, yet unmistakably threatening. Behind her, a Terran diplomatic case floated silently, projecting the faint glow of encrypted data files. Dozens of species watched from tiered seating: feathered avians, scaled imperials, insectoid emissaries, amphibious envoys encased in containment suits. Their expressions were varied, but all carried one thing in common: caution. Some cloaked it in curiosity. Others wore it openly as fear. The human was not a supplicant. She was a reminder. Ilara stopped at the central podium. She didn't bow, didn't nod. Her voice, when she spoke, was deliberate and unflinching. Commander Ilara Voss, Terra's representative. The presiding speaker, a 6-eyed diplomat from the neutral Galen Consortium, inclined his spindled head. Commander, the chamber acknowledges your presence and awaits your statement regarding the recent event. Eliminating a hostile fleet before it enters our system isn't an event. It's policy. Soft murmurs echoed through the crowd. From the left tier, Grand Archon Verlax Thune stood slowly. His face, normally composed and regal, twitched with tightly leashed indignation. You crippled an Imperial fleet without formal declaration. You breached peace protocols. This was not defense. It was treachery. Ilara didn't turn to him. She looked at the entire chamber. No, she said. Treachery is hiding dreadnoughts in a diplomatic convoy. Treachery is striking civilian installations and denying it. We did not breach peace, we enforced it. The hollow case beside her flickered to life. Holographic feeds rotated. Sensor records of cloaked ships crossing the Helios threshold. Encrypted comms from Imperial warships ordering power spikes. Fragments of internal logs showing their intent to strike first. Evidence. Clear. Cold. Undeniable. Gasps rippled through the chamber. From the upper balconies, a Sutheri emissary whispered her aide. They had this all along. Verlax's claws tightened around the railing. This is manipulation. Alara turned to face him directly. Your empire got too comfortable thinking fear was control. You assumed Earth would beg for protection. You were wrong. We didn't just prepare for your arrival, we invited it. More murmurs. The tide was shifting. She tapped the case again. A new projection unfolded. A comprehensive proposal, broadcast in real time across the chamber and onto the wider galactic net. Title: The Terran Accord. Key points illuminated in sequence. Recognition of Terran sovereignty across all systems within the Sol and Proxima sectors. A zero-tolerance stance on cloaked military entries near Terran borders. Immediate establishment of a human high embassy within the Galactic Senate. Implementation of the Observation Clause. Terra reserves the right to unilaterally monitor hostile fleet movement beyond sanctioned thresholds. No request for reparations. Only assurance. Simple. Direct. Absolute. The silence was now heavy. Earth doesn't seek war, Alara continued. We're not an empire. We don't conquer. But we will never kneel. And from this moment on, any threat toward humanity will be met not with words, but response. A long pause. Then, if this body accept the accord, Terra will share the defensive data used in the recent incident. This includes anti-cloaking signatures and quantum countermeasures. Tools to keep every world safe from stealth aggression. Not just ours. Eyes widened. They weren't offering dominance. They were offering strength, leverage, survival, on Earth's terms. Later, in a private corridor beneath the chamber, Verlax intercepted her. His tone was lower now, measured, almost tired. You've changed everything. No, Alara said. We just reminded you we exist. You'll make enemies. We already have. He looked at her, studying her face. You're not like the others. I buried the others, she said flatly. Then I built the future on the ashes. There was nothing left to say. Back aboard TNS Valiant, Alara stood alone on the observation deck as the Senate station faded behind them. Her reflection in the viewport looked almost calm. Admiral Hoshin approached quietly. The vote passed, he said. 84 in favor. 17 abstained. Only 5 against. She didn't smile. And the data package? Already distributed. Carefully. Good. He leaned against the railing beside her. You understand what we are now? Yes, she said. A deterrent. No, he said quietly. A constant. At that same moment, in orbit above Proxima Centauri, a second Terran fleet exited from subspace, quietly, efficiently. They weren't part of the first wave. They had been built in secret, outside Senate observation, beyond even Dyson Moon's veil. 12 ships, unregistered, clean hulls, silent engines. They didn't broadcast their presence. They watched. The final contingency, activated only once the accord was accepted. The message was clear. Humanity could speak. Humanity could defend. But if necessary, humanity would disappear and watch from the dark. Transmission classified. Terra High Command. Status report. Operation break silence. Outcome successful. Enemy fleet neutralized. Senate vote majority approved. Projected Empire retaliation deferred. Future recommendation. Maintain deterrence posture. Continue silent expansion. Speak softly. Arm the void. Directive complete. Back on Earth, deep within the military archive chambers of Mount Cassandra, a child walked beside their mother, touring the newly opened Terran Historical Hall. A holographic display lit up in front of them, projecting a single image, Alara Voss standing before the Senate, unwavering. Who is she? The child asked. The mother smiled faintly. She's the reason no one messes with us anymore.